one of the worst drivers I've ever seen, and I just want you all to know that if you're ever on the highway behind me, I hear you honking, and I also don't want me to be doing what I'm doing. I don't like that I'm in that lane either, and I sure would like to get out of it.
What's going on, YouTube? It is your boy Sport Mode, and if you are tuned in, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation because this will be the very first video that I record for this vlog channel. And the purpose is to record my experiences as an owner-operator in the trucking industry, some of my obstacles, some of the challenges, some of the rewards, and opportunities. And I was hoping that I could just bring you guys along with me, so if there's anybody out there who's contemplating getting in the trucking industry, or somebody that may be involved in the trucking industry and looking to make a transition from an employee to an owner-operator, just give you a first-hand experience, a first-hand look on some of the things that you're going to go through. I'm hoping to be able to share my advice as well as communicate with other vloggers, with other subscribers, and just, build a wealth of knowledge. Not only sharing what I know, but also, accumulating y'all stories and learning what you guys know. So I'm currently on a delivery. It was a nice little load, 50 miles, picking up in Richmond, Michigan, delivering to Romulus, Michigan, paying $600. And I'm at the end of the week, so I pretty much got all of the main running that I wanted to get out the way, and I hit my quotas. So usually when I get towards the end of the week, if I'm right where I need to be at, I'll just look for little short loads that's close to home, which allows me to enjoy the kids, spend time with the wife, help out around the house, get some chores done, work on the truck, and basically prepare for the next week. The title of this vlog is How the Trucking Industry Changed My Life. I figured this would be a proper way to introduce myself to you guys, as well as explain my position, how I got to this point, and why I chose to field a truck driver. Because I do honestly feel that everything happens for a reason, and some people choose trucking, and sometimes trucking chooses people. And I think that I would most certainly fall under the category of the latter. So without further ado, I guess we can dive into the story. I don't want to make it too stretched out or too long, so I'm pretty much freestyling, trying to figure out whether or not I'll just wrap it all up here, or whether I break these videos up into segments, so I don't bore you guys. I got to keep you interested, and I got to be able to bring you useful and applicable content. So, how did I get into truck driving? Everybody's story is unique, and it's an honor, if you're still watching and paying me a little bit of attention. I appreciate it if you still got up to this point. So originally, I'll just say, when I came into the trucking industry, I didn't have what I felt was a useful or applicable skill set. I did have formal education. I have my associate's degree in college, and when it came to the crossing the road where it was time to make a choice for the additional education that I would need to major or get a bachelor, I just did the math, and it really just didn't make sense. I felt like I wasted time as well as money for the education that I did receive, because I didn't see how I can essentially utilize everything that I just learned to make a decent income where I wanted to be at in life, or to to fulfill the responsibilities that I had as a man, as a father, and creating a stable environment for my family and being a provider. So a little bit about me, a little bit of backstory. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and at the age of 17, while attending high school, I got to running with the wrong crowd. Was basically just lost in the sauce and doing anything that I could to survive. And I guess I'm not gonna beat around the bush. At the age of 17, I was charged with multiple counts of armed robbery. Me and a close friend of mine, we came up with an idea to basically get us out of poverty and allow us to pay for our senior dues and, wear nice clothes and, buy a vehicle and stuff like that in high school. It's crazy that when you're young, depending on what your situation is and your circumstances is, what you could be motivated by. And at that time, the only thing that we were motivated by was money. Because, when you're living in the hood of Detroit, and I'm not going to blame my choices on my opportunities or circumstances, because there's plenty of people who live where I live that made different decisions. However, it just wasn't the way that things lined up for me. And that was my decision, that was my choice. And as a result, I had to pay the consequence. So I was charged with multiple counts of armed robbery. And at the age of, by the time I was 18, I was sentenced and convicted shortly right after graduating high school. So I basically watched all of my friends graduate high school and go off to college, while I graduated high school and went off to prison. I went in when I was 18, and I wasn't released from prison until the age of 30. So, as you can imagine, after just spending some of the best years of your life incarcerated, it was a lot of things that was on my mind upon being released. And mainly just how can I prove to society, that I was rehabilitated, a brand new man, and worthy of being amongst society, earning an honest living, and making my way in this world. I was 12 years behind as a result of some of the dumb decisions that I made. So I didn't waste any time. Upon being released, I was working the next day. And my first job, I was working for my father as a custodial supervisor, which was really just a glorified name for a janitor, But as a result of my work ethic, I started out as a janitor. And once I showed, was able to prove to him that, I was serious about it, and that I wanted to utilize that opportunity, I quickly climbed through the ranks from just a basic janitor to supervising some of the other employees that my father had working for him. The only problem was anybody that's in the contracting field, sometimes you deal with a lot of net 30, net 60. So there will often be times where we completed contracts and had to wait a period of time before payment was issued. And as you can imagine, since my father owned the company, if he had to wait 30 days, if he had to wait 60 days, I had to wait 30 days, I had to wait 60 days. Because at the end of the day, he was providing an opportunity for me coming out of prison to have a job. And though, I went to college and I had an associate's degree, originally my game plan was to major in social work, because being in prison, I wanted to involve myself in a field where I can affect change. However, the only problem with that is, and I don't want to sound like a sellout when I say it, sometimes some of the social causes that you attach yourself to has to be, just a work of love. It can't necessarily be a career, because it's not a profitable career. Or, you got to be doing it for a very long time before, it actually pay off, before you can go for those positions that put you in a position to be able to make the type of income you want or create the type of lifestyle you want. So I made up my mind instantly that the last thing I was going to do is spend, 15, 20, 30,000 more dollars on college for a field that I couldn't even make that kind of money annually, back. So I knew I had to make some decisions. And with the inconsistency of the pay, it was hard to lay down a foundation and build a life and fulfill the responsibilities and the promises and commitments that I made as a man to my wife and our future children. So I started working 2 jobs. I was working for my dad in the morning, and then by night I was going to a plant, working 12-hour shifts there. And I remember just being so broke and having to tell my wife, like, yeah, I know normally we get paid on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but as a result of this contract and the customer that we completed the work for, we got to wait for our payment, so I'm going to be late on this bill this week or that week or this month or that month. It was just always up and down, up and down, up and down. And I just remember being in my car in the parking lot of the plant that I was working in, waiting for my shift to start, and just holding my head like, man, it gots to be a better way. It got to be not necessarily an easier way, but it has to be something more fulfilling, something better than what I was doing, because I can already feel that I wouldn't be able to do this for a long time. It was just too taxing mentally, too taxing physically, and just stretching myself too thin, trying to reach that goal. So at the time, obviously, I was on parole, and I was expressing to my parole officer that I was always looking for better employment, and I was willing to educate myself, through certifications or through trainings, but I needed something that was much quicker than college, And then right around that time, my wife had just got pregnant, so it was a lot of pressure on my back to figure out what it was that I was gonna do. And it was actually my parole officer who suggested truck driving. And anybody that's from the Detroit, Michigan area, that's a profound situation, because normally if you're on parole, your parole officer doesn't want you to leave the state. Most certainly don't want you going so far, from your domicile that it create infrequencies or obstacles for you to check in and basically give your report of how everything is going. But I don't know what it was with my parole officer, but she saw something in me and she believed in me, and she suggested that to me and extended that opportunity multiple times. However, I will be honest with you guys, truck driving wasn't my first choice. And I hope I'm not boring you with all the details, but I just feel like with this being my first vlog, that it's important that I give you guys the context as to how I'm doing what I'm doing, and what I'm doing, and how I got up to this point. So, she would suggest to me all the time that, maybe you should do truck driving, maybe you should get in truck driving school. But at the time, I didn't understand everything that came along with truck driving, like how to get my CDL or going to school. So usually every time I ever heard someone even mention it, if I was even paying attention, I would hear that it was a period of time that you had to get training and certified. So ultimately, with my college frame of mind, I was assuming that it took longer than what it took to get a CDL. And after just spending 12 years within four-wall sales, the last thing I wanted to do was be stuck somewhere, even though I was making deliveries, even though I was on the highway, seeing the road, seeing different cities, different states. I just felt like it would be different, because you're not actually going there because you want to. You're going there because you're being paid to. It's a job. So you're not there for enjoyment or, a vacation. You're there to work. So, I put it off for a number of months until one time when me and my parole officer was in there talking, she actually had some statistics that was showing what were some of the best, performing fields to be involved in that didn't require a formal education in that field, or specialized education for what it is that you're trying to do. And one of them was truck driving, and it showed that the median income for a truck driver was roughly anywhere from $45,000 to $65,000, depending on the geographical area that you were at. Now, when I was in prison, I had all the time in the world to think, so I was an avid reader, avid planner, and it was important for me to always have a game plan, to have goals in mind, or to have some type of milestone that I was working towards. That's how you keep the time going in there, and that's how you keep track of progression. so you don't slip into the depression that come with the reality that you're incarcerated for some dumbass stuff that you might have done in the past. So one of the goals that I wrote down for being released, was to involve myself in a field that would allow me to make at least $50,000. I didn't know what that field would be, and obviously from being incarcerated and basically being outside of society, I knew that it would be a lot harder for me to just figure something out like this is what I'm gonna do specifically, because it was just so many options, and I was aware of the fact that I didn't know myself. I wasn't in a position where I could be open to opportunities to learn myself, figure out what my skill sets are, figure out what my interests are. I had to do all of that within the biome of a correctional facility. So I just wanted to keep my options open for when I returned to society. But one thing that I did know for a fact was that, I was willing to work hard, be determined, study, and educate myself if need be for whatever I needed to do. So now that I done stretched that all out and made that much longer than it had to be, that was when I made the decision to get into truck driving. I realized that all it took was 4 weeks of formal education or training, and I didn't know no other field that I can involve myself in where I can study for 4 weeks and instantly make $45,000 to $65,000 a year. So for me, it was a no-brainer because I was only making about $25,000, $27,000 a year with both jobs that I was doing. So I knew that something had to change, and I needed some type of specialized knowledge in order to put myself as well as my family in a position that I wanted to be in. So if you are from the Michigan area, I'm sorry I don't have advice for people who stay in other geographical locations, but I can only speak on my experience and what it was that I did to get, my CDL. So when you decide that you want to become a truck driver, the next question is how are you going to pay for schooling? And depending on where you're from, it's different for everybody. So in my area, I had 3 options. The first option was just to contact a mega carrier, let them know that I was interested in becoming a truck driver, and let them sponsor me. And in exchange for them paying for my training, I would work for them for 6 months to a year. But as I said, I'm an avid researcher, and I read books, I watch YouTube videos, I watch reviews of certain companies, and it seemed like the common theme that I was seeing was everybody who went about it that route became unsatisfied, because if you're working for a company who funded your schooling and they collect that money back from your checks as a result of you working for them, then you can understand why their checks may not look like the checks of somebody who owed nothing. So the second option was to try to save up enough money and just pay for the school out of pocket or finance it. But as I told you, I was only making about $27,000 a year with both jobs that I was doing. So you can imagine with a family, with me, my wife, and our at the time 5-year-old, that just wasn't enough income to bring in to create the environment that I wanted to. Nor was I in a position to be able to set aside money. I needed every single penny, if not more. So, hold on, vape break, y'all. So, as a result, that wasn't an option. And the third option was, I had only heard about it. I didn't know anybody who actually did it. But I was told that you can go up to Michigan Works, take the orientation, and let them know of the field that you wanted to get into, and they would notify you whether or not they had resources that could assist you. So I figured if I went that way, I could get a grant which is funded from the state. Not owe anybody any money. All I had to do was complete the course, and then I would have a new skill, new trade, new vocation that I can go into the job market with and hopefully get to the money. So that's exactly what I did. I called down to Michigan Works. They notified me when they had orientation, so I took the orientation. Right after you complete orientation, they're gonna ask you, what are you there for, and what do you hope to accomplish? Is there a certain field that you're looking into? And that's when you notify them that you want to be a truck driver. After that, I had to do some base test studies to basically show that I was able to utilize English, math skills, and reading comprehension. There were a couple freaky tests where you had to do like patterns or understanding appointments or scheduling or analytics and stuff like that. But, for the most part, I passed everything. And after that, they put me with a career advisor who then checked for all of the resources that were available to help me accomplish what I was doing. Got me paired up with a school, the truck driving school that I went to. Shameless plug is U.S. Truck Driving Training School. It's an awesome school, and they teach you the basics. So I went to truck driving school. I spent 4 weeks in there. Every day that you're going to school, Monday through Friday, they had recruiters coming in, and let me tell you, that was a mind-blowing experience, because before going to truck driving school, I was constantly dropping off resumes, calling companies, working for temp agencies, looking for work, trying to sell myself to some form of employer. And the minute I go into truck driving school, instead of me looking for work and me trying to sell myself and pitch myself, there were carriers coming up there every single day, pitching to us, trying to convince us to work for their company. So upon seeing that, I knew I had made the right decision. So I chose to go with a mega carrier, which I'll reveal who that carrier was and my experiences with them in a later video, when we go over some of the companies, best companies to start with. But however, based upon the options that they had available for pay, the area that I'd be running in, which was regional, I was running the Midwest, and I was home every weekend, which was important for my parole officer as well as important for my family. And that was my initial story of how I got involved in trucking. As a result, that was in 2018. I've been a truck driver for just over 3 years now. And I made the transition from being a rookie to, I can't necessarily say veteran truck driver, because I believe in order to be a veteran in anything, it's like 5 years or more. That's just my personal belief. But I guess to the industry standard, once you got over 1 year or 2 years, you're considered a veteran truck driver. So, I made the transition from being a rookie to a veteran truck driver to an owner-operator. Since my voyage began, I have been with only 3 companies, which I'm going to explain in later videos why that's important. But as I said, I went from making roughly, and I keep saying $27,000 a year, but I think it was probably less than that. And I can't actually say per se, because I didn't do it for a year. One thing for sure is I realized that what I was doing wasn't working, and I wasn't going to take years to build up the bravado or make a decision that things had to change in order for me to get myself as well as my family to the position that I wanted us to be in. But let me tell you, everything that was promoted about the trucking industry, to me, was true. That's one thing that I can say. Nobody ever told me that it would be easy. We never even had those conversations. The one thing that they told me was that it would change my life. Once I got my CDL, I never had to worry about employment again. And they told me that it was good money in it. And that's true. But you go through phases. You go through, different levels. You can't come into the trucking industry as a rookie and expect to make, buku money, even though there are some exceptions. But for the most part, it's just about keeping your head down, building up your miles, building up your experiences, keeping a clean driving record, building up relationships so that you can utilize this industry and squeeze it for everything that it can offer you, which is a lot. But trucking put me in a position to where I was able to retire my wife, in which, of course, she's not at retirement age, but for the most part, I was able to get a decent enough income to where she didn't have to work and she could focus her attention on the cultivation, raising, and education of our children, and just holding down the household. And we've been doing that for quite a while, and I can't think of another field where 4 weeks of education can put you in a position to where you can hold down an entire household. And as I said, I am a first generation truck driver, so no one in my household was even interested remotely in truck driving, nor seeing the opportunity or the potential reward that can be attached to it. So man, it's been very rewarding. May I add that. I've been in a position, fortunate enough, to afford multiple vehicles. I've had multiple sports cars, first generation. Well, I can't say first generation, but I will say the first of this generation of our family to be a homeowner. Me and my wife purchased our home last year, and we get to go on vacations. We get to go see the world, and none of this would be possible if I've never made that decision to actually entertain what my parole officer was recommending for me. So if there's anybody who's on the fence about getting involved in truck driving, if it's anybody who's in the position and you got a clean license and you just looking to where you can pull yourself up by your bootstrap and change the trajectory of your life as well as your family, I most certainly recommend truck driving. I most certainly recommend it because compared to any other field, it's nothing that you can get into for as cheap. It's nothing that you can get into as quick. There's no skill that you can develop that's as valuable within that time span that can put you in this position. If anybody feel like it's something else, then I'm willing to debate with you. So leave a comment at the bottom, and if your story is similar but just with a different industry, then please share that. I'll respond, and I'll also be sure to leave my email. If anybody just want any advice that may be in my area as to how or what steps that they can take in order to get your CDLA. And some of the obstacles and some of the things that you also need to be on the lookout for while you're getting your CDL, or some of the things that you could be preparing yourself for mentally or financially while you get your CDL, because it was hard. It was hard being a husband and being a father. I remember, because keep in mind I was working 2 jobs, so just because I decided to get my CDL don't mean that my responsibilities changed. All that meant was that CDL truck driving school replaced one of the jobs that I was working, and that meant for 4 weeks I would have to take a pay cut, but I had to keep in my mind, because I had no experience, that it would be worth it, that it would all pay off, and that all the bills that I was falling behind on, eventually I would be able to catch up to. And I just kept my head down, I studied, and I kept my conviction, and everything worked out for the good. Now, everything isn't always all good, but it's most certainly been more good than bad. So hopefully throughout the life of this channel, I can expose you to some of the things that I've been able to accomplish, expose you to some of the circumstances and situations that I'm now involved in since becoming an owner-operator, and document the process of what I had to do and the steps that I had to take to get to this point. you know, because some people think that it's just as simple as buying a truck, and it's not necessarily that simple at all. It's a lot of other components and auxiliary details that people don't cover that come along with this here. So, but I promised you that the video wouldn't be too long. I do apologize because I know I was blabbering, but hey, it is story time. I almost kind of feel like I could have made the story a little bit more interesting, but I feel like when we dealing with the essential or the foundation, the best thing to do is just to be upfront, and then we'll get to the entertainment. Then we'll get to some of the wild things. Then we'll be able to get into more specific stories. So that'll allow me to keep the story short if I don't just, you know, throw everything into this one. But if you are still tuned in, I would like to once again express my gratitude and appreciation for you watching my first vlog for this channel. And man, we're gonna get to the money. We're gonna go over a bunch of things. We're gonna go over maintenance, we're gonna go over repairs, we're gonna go over finances, we're gonna go over business, we're gonna go over, you know, low boards, and basically just positioning yourself to utilize trucking as a catalyst, because this is not an end-all be-all. This is not a job that you can do forever, even though some people do. And kudos to you if that's what your goal is. But my goal is not necessarily just to drive a truck for the rest of my life. And nothing against people who are. We are different. We all have different wants, different necessities. So, you know, all I can do is tell my story. And I appreciate you coming along with me for the ride. We're going to have some good content that you can hold me accountable for. I promise you that. So, you guys have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. And I guess normally I would see people at the end of their vlog with a saying or some type of phrase that they coin to complete their videos. I really haven't put much thought into that. Maybe you guys can help me come up with the phrase. So if you got any suggestions, go ahead and leave a comment at the bottom. And if I come up with something, I'll notify you guys, or you know, you'll see it when you get to the end of my future vlogs. All right, y'all be safe out there.